Hello, my fellow readers. This is I, Dark Symphony 777, with another fan fiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notification. And finally, some my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of the world, so please respect that. So, the story I am reviewing today is The Dollmaker's Daughter by the Unmoving Great Library. Oh, neat reference to Patchouli. There you go. This is a Touhou project fanfiction. Daily monster life in Equestria. This is going to take a little bit longer than I expected because it's really dry. Like, drier than rye bread. As dry as Pride and Prejudice. And that's going to take longer than I expected. So I did so I grabbed another story from my backlog and working on this. So, what is this story about? Well, in order to understand what this story is about, we need to at least discuss some backstory regarding one of the characters mentioned in the story, one Alice Margatroyd. So, if you don't know who Alice is in Touhou Project, Alice was actually one of the 4 characters that actually got transported from, moved from the PC-98 games to the Windows games, along with Rimu, Marissa, and Yuka. In this story, she is something of a somewhat reclusive magician yokai who lives in the same area as Marissa, and she basically likes to play with dolls. Alice's whole shtick is that she hopes to eventually make a doll that gains sentience, gets its own free will, and gets to live, and ultimately all her pursuits, all her living alone is basically a single-minded desire towards that eventuality of giving life where there is none. And that's basically what the Dollmaker's Daughter is. It's just basically Alice gets what she wants, and now she just kind of has to deal with it. So, let's get into the plot. So the plot actually starts with Alice just making a doll. You know, something simple, something basic. And, you know, she makes just random, like a bunch of random dolls because she uses them to fight and compete in the Manku battles and all that. But this random doll, is different. This doll starts thinking about things. It looks around. When Alice goes to basically ask the doll to clean, she puppeteers it and kind of slightly controls it. The puppet goes up to the window and waves the rag. It has a rag and is about to clean the window, but it sees itself in the mirror. Not in the mirror, in the window reflection, and it's kind of tries to avoid the window because it's Alice as well as to clean the window, not this doll thing. And the doll, which starts to call herself Sunshine, gains more and more sentience, and Alice finds out about it because the Sunshine starts, saying let's do things for Alice without her asking. Sets her up her blades, brings her slippers, and Alice is completely confused at first because she wasn't expecting to get a doll sentience. She was out of nowhere. It just happened. So she panics. She thinks it's a yokai playing a prank on her. I mean, if you know Touhou, Medicine Melancholy exists, and she is technically a yokai doll. So that's probably where Alice is getting the mindset from. Finds out the doll is sentient, and she actually breaks down in tears, realizing she got her wish. And now she doesn't know what to do. And she's been so focused on getting the daughter she never had. Now she doesn't know what to do. She never really thought past that point, and I think it's a really nice touch. And really past that, it's just the Sunshine just learning more and more about life and everything. Marissa starts showing up more, and Alice and Marissa are dating. And Marissa starts, Sunshine learns words. She learns how to draw. She he listens to Marissa tell stories about the event, like the adventures. She eventually goes into the village, and everyone's kind of like, and she even buys like a little toy wooden sword, and she like waves it around and all that. And it's just a very simplistic, wholesome story. There's not really a conflict. There's not really any tension or anything. It's just two people and a doll, just coming together and being happy. And I think that's just as perfect as a type of story involving Alice should get. I'm not a big fan of Alice in the canon. I think she's a pretty bland character personally. But just this simple idea of Alice getting her wish and, you know, having to learn to become a mom, because that's ultimately what Alice becomes, is like, it's like, I'm now your mom. And the little tiny adventures of Sunshine learning how to like draw and write and all these words, but she can't speak it because she doesn't have she doesn't have an hinge. And she's even playing. She's behaving like a little kid, and it's so sweet. And eventually, she inadvertently bumps a cabinet, and it lands on her, and her arm breaks off, and now they can't repair it. And then just the tiny little climax is Alice figuring out how to, thanks to Rimu, just figuring out like, I can put you in another body. I can transfer your soul to another body, and building like this humanoid doll, and using the transfer spell to transfer Sunshine into the new body. And the epilogue is the final chapter in the epilogue. Well, mostly the epilogue is just her getting used to her new body and doing stuff. We even get like a little funny moment where like Marissa's like, "Hey, okay, let's play the dragon games." Like, no. Sunshine asks Marissa to play if she wants to play dragon games. Like, all right. And so Marissa, like, they go outside. She charges, pretending to be a dragon. Sunshine still has like the little wooden sword. She dodges behind Marissa, and then she jumps on her back and starts wailing on her, and like nearly knocks Marissa out, because they're both used to like Sunshine originally being like a foot tall and like barely able to like do any damage with the sword. Now she's like as tall as Marissa, just jumping on her and just hitting her inside the head. It's like, and it's just let me mute that. And ultimately what the story is just a simple, wholesome story about a family coming together and a doll finding her way in life of becoming sentient. I think this story is like a big reference to Pinocchio, and eventually the climax becoming Sunshine becoming a real girl. And it's really all you can say. Like, it's not a complicated story. It's not a deep story. It's very shallow at the end of the day, but shallow doesn't mean bad. And I think ultimately the story is just very touching. It's a very touching, calming story. There's nothing too complex about the characters or the plots. And ultimately, I think this story is one of those prime examples of just a very simple story, a simple tale, simple characters, just done the best the author can do, and ending up with like a real just touching journey. When it comes to characters, there's really only Sunshine. Marissa and Alice are kind of like the superficial. They're kind of like the background characters, as weird as you can get that. They do have some character moments where they basically, they just act like a couple, which they are, and eventually they move in together, and they want to be like the best moms they can be. But all the story focuses on Sunshine, and I loved Sunshine. I think she was just an adorable little main character, where she barely had like a care, even like she barely had a character arc. Like the closest thing she had like a big conflict was like the fact that she still, at the end of the day, was a doll, and she was built to follow Alice's will, and she was completely worried that Alice was going to throw her out because, but it's not following Alice's will. It's like, but she's telling me to do what I want, but that's not following Alice's will. It's like, and just kind of giving her like a tiny little crisis of conflict, but then she kind of gets over it. Again, it's not a deep story. With Sunshine's character, it's very basic and very shallow, but it's written in such a touching way that it becomes super endearing. I just love the little adorable little doll. And even when she gets bigger, you can see like she's struggling to walk, she's struggling to talk because she's gone so long without knowing the words but not knowing how to say things. And like and like that little, and the little moments where she's like struggling to figure out how, trying to get used to how things are now because she's in a bigger body. Like the very first thing she does when she wakes up is like struggle to walk like a newborn because she's so used to floating, and now she has to physically walk. It's such a touching story, a touching main character. It's just, I don't really know what else I can say about the story. It's very short, so the pacing is done really well. There's no grammar errors. I don't really know what else to say, because what else can I say about this story? Like, I can go over the various minutas of Sunshine eventually, choosing her name because she keeps hearing words and she likes the sun. And so now she kind of associates with yellow to kind of contrast. Considering the fact that both Alice and Marissa are blondes. I know there was a sequel to the story, but I think its story was dead, which is kind of a shame because I really would have liked to see more Sunshine. Yeah, there's just, I don't really have anything more to say. Like, it's just, at the end of the day, not every single review is going to be this deep, explorative, detailed review. Sometimes even the best fan fictions can come from like very small packages. This is not a Better Off Alone tier story, not by a long shot. But I think with the idea the author has presented, the author was as perfect as he or she could have been with such a simple idea. And I think this is just a picture-perfect example of just a very simplistic, very childlike story being executed immaculately well. I have no faults with this story. I have no faults with the characters, with the setting, with the structure. Sunshine is just an adorable, lovable character that just needs all the hugs. And I don't really have anything more to say. Like, yeah, I would recommend the story. I like the moment where Marissa's like embellishing the events of the various games they were in, and even like Sunshine kind of caught on. It's like, yeah, Rimu landed in a ditch in the bamboo forest for 5 feet, and if you go in there, if you look at just right, you can still see it. It's like the last time you said she got sent to the moon. Oh, well, yeah, she skidded, and then she flew through the ground. It's like, Marissa, like, okay, okay. But I don't. It's just read the story. It's so wholesome. It's just a little doll wanting to find life, getting life, and just exploring it. It's just, there's not much more I can add. It's just adorable. The story, everything about the story just radiates like, oh, you just read this and you're just dying the entire time. Like, that's what I was doing when I read this through the story. It's like, oh, it's so adorable. Oh, she's learning how to write and to read, and she drew Alice as a triangle. And it's such a simple idea. Just perfectly handled. At this point, I'm kind of stalling, like Marissa. Yeah, this is a short one this week. I would recommend this story. Just my favorite part is just Sunshine. I think she's probably one of my personal favorite OCs I ever read. She's just adorable, and just I even if the story is not complete, I might actually go and read the sequel, at least like the first chapter or two, see what it's like. Who knows? What would I add? I don't really think there's anything. You know what? There is actually one thing I would add. So Alice's story, Alice's whole character, is based around the fact that Alice wants to bring a doll to life. She wants to make a doll sentient. And that's like a noble thing. But then Sunshine becomes sentient. There's no explanation. And the fact that Alice doesn't even question it, like why this specific doll at this specific time, I do think if there was anything I would add, probably just add a little conversation between Alice and Marissa, like trying to figure out how did this happen. Like, even like they still love Sunshine. Like, it doesn't even have to be a full story. Like, it could be just Marissa maybe asking Alice like how but you've been studying this. Like, I don't know how it happened. Like, it could have been just a simple Marissa asking a question, Alice saying I don't know, and you could have just left it at that. I think just dropping that and not doing any sort of even like the most wonky ass explanation, like just Alice shrugging and just saying I don't know, would have been preferable to just no answer. But that's really all I would add, because even then it wouldn't add anything to the story. It would still just be a very wholesome, adorable fanfiction that from an author that really knew what they're doing with the story, that really just wanted to have a little fun and do something very, very cute and very, very adorable. Absolute 10 out of 10 story. Would read again. But yeah, that's Dollmaker's Daughter. I'm sorry, I apologize that I don't really have much more to say about it. But yeah, this is honestly a story you should go out of your way to go read. Do it. Read it. But yeah, this has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.